Cool. Thanks everyone for coming along. We're going to be talking about how to build a self-driving. We're not actually going to be talking about self-driving cars. I realize that has been confusing for a lot of people. But I called the session that because a while ago I watched a video that Keran made where he made a self-driving car and then he put a video about it on YouTube, which I thought was pretty illegal, but it's the kind of guy that Keran is.
What, totally illegal and breaking rules?
Yes. You heard breaking the rules is good for your staff, so it kind of ties into that.
The right rules.
So what we are going to be talking about, I think, is the vision behind that video. So it is a bit of a metaphor. But I guess the future of tech, which I think is a topic you're very passionate about, and also, I guess, how you can really bring the future forward quite a long way in a dodgy sort of fashion, which I think is something you're passionate about as well. But we'll come back to that. Maybe we'll start a bit with about who you are and what brings you here. So what's your story, Keran?
Right. Well, what brought me here was an airplane this morning.
Did you build it?
Strangely enough, no, and I actually missed it, and they actually closed it, and I was standing at the gate going, oh crap, how do I tell Alex I'm not getting on the plane? Until they reopened it and got me on the plane. Look, my background is I've been in the tech space for, 20-something years now, and constantly asking that question, why? Why are things done a certain way? Is there a better way of doing it? And the funny thing is, as much as I'm a tech person, and I'll sit and geek out about augmented reality or virtual reality or self-driving cars or AI or blockchain or whatever, you name it, and I can get passionate about it. But the thing that I delight the most, and it's been delightful actually to hear people talking today about the use of technology and the thing it's doing for staff. And I loved Gary's talk just now about the introduction of hope in the workplace, is that when technology gets out of the way, we as humans are better. And that's the thing that I love about my space and the job that I have. So at MYOB, I look after the ecosystem. I met these crazy kids when there was just 4 of them, strangely enough. I think I've had a number of firsts with the Tanda team. Met you in your first office, attended your first hackathon, came to your first conference, and watched you hire your first employee and your 100th employee. But this in the MYOB world, I look after this ecosystem of tools that plug in and augment and support Aussie and Kiwi businesses, of which Tanda is just one of those things. And so that's my role, and I get to geek out and talk about tech and the impact it has in business.
So let's talk about some more firsts. What was your first job?
Wow. What was my first job?
I don't feel like you're special.
Yeah, no, I'm not that special. I'm just old. I've got to remember a long way back. My first job would have been working as a builder's labourer or gopher in one of my father's work sites, probably.
And that was in New Zealand?
Yes.
And is there anything particular that you sort of remember from that? Obviously, you don't remember what the job was, but I mean, one of the things that I've sort of gotten a lot from today is that a lot of the speakers really have talked about their careers and what they've learned through their time there. And it's a topic we talk about a lot, which is, I guess, the empowerment that comes with any job, and not just with a really flashy job, but with any job where you're sort of making a real impact. So yeah, what do you remember about that?
Probably in that sense, it wasn't necessarily that job. I remember screwing up a lot in that job. But one of the first jobs that I had, or an early job I had, I remember the responsibility where the boss asked me to go and do something. I had to go out from the shop and go off and get something or other, and it required getting a car. He was a race car builder, and he had one of the fastest street legal cars in New Zealand in the car park, and he just threw me the keys and said, go for it. And that responsibility of giving a very young fellow who's a bit of a petrol head the keys for one of the most powerful cars in the country, you learn this sort of respect of trust and reliability and who you are as a person. And you get in the car and you start it and you go, I could really floor this thing, or
it really explains a lot.
I could just come back to work as a normal employee. Yeah.
Cool. I didn't know that. That's a great story. I think. What other car stories do you have?
Oh, way too many. Including getting into a Ford Mustang just 2 days ago with my dad, and the driver, the guy at the car yard where I was testing it said, just keep it under 200. I'm like, dude, it's 50
miles or
zones.
kilometers?
No, 200 Ks. So, I drive down the road, turn the corner, go into my house, where I'm really used to just sort of, you start to lay on the accelerator, and I literally did, and then the car went like this, and I freaked out and just about lost it. And needless to say, I took the car back to the car yard and handed the keys back.
Seems to happen a lot too.
Yeah.
Cool. And I mean, so tell us a bit more about obviously you went from those early days in New Zealand. What brought you to Australia and to this part of the world, I guess?
Work. No, my thing is that, again, for me, it's about looking for how technology impacts business life. So when I was in New Zealand, my last role was actually working as head of strategy for Yellow Pages. We had a commercial relationship with something like 96% of all businesses in New Zealand. So when we're looking at technology and the things that we could do, we could impact, we could tangibly change the amount of foot traffic going to a business. We could change the amount of people going to a place. We could tell the next Domino's where's the right place to open and then do a campaign to get people there. And you know, we had really tangible impacts for 4 million people. You've got that entire population in Melbourne, right? And so coming to Australia is the ability to impact that on a greater scale. I mean, the great Tanda stories, right? In the sense of we can plug Tanda into businesses in the hospitality space. We can save every single hospitality business a minimum 240 hours a pay cycle in the way that they're working, you know, and you're getting stories of parents who are running businesses going, you know, I'm free in the weekend to be a mum and dad with my kids again. Right? I'm able to impact that sort of stuff. And that's the part I delight, and that's why I love being in Australia, is to being able to say, I can take this crazy 4 young guys, help them build their business into this amazing one that's now impacting huge swathes of the Australian economy or New Zealand economy.
So you had 96% market share in New Zealand. That seems pretty high.
Well, we were Yellow Pages, and there was only Yellow Pages.
So what's it been like adjusting to, I mean, obviously MYOB is not that popular, unfortunately.
Pretty close.
I have no opinion. What's it been like adjusting to having, I guess, not a total monopoly?
It's been fantastic. It's been really, really good. And as much as I'm a Kiwi, and I'm really proud of the other company that are in the space as well, which you know, people sit there and go, how can you say that? Well, of course I'm proud of them. I'm proud of what they've done. They've built an ecosystem for other people. And that's one of the things that I bring that's different to the space is, yeah, MYOB was a dinosaur, you know, and I'll stand in front of our team and tell us we were a dinosaur, that's fine. We've got the luxury of having paying relationships with over 1.2 million businesses across Australia and New Zealand, right? I mean, that's a huge swathe. If you look into the franchise space, we are dominant still. 60, 70, 80% of all franchisees are using our software. It's with that, though, where you're going, but what are we doing differently? And how can we do things differently? And how can we encourage businesses? And it's not about doing, to be honest, accounting is boring as batshit. Nobody wants to be doing accounts in their business. And accounting software is some of the most boring software in the world. But the tools that are layered over top of it, the businesses that are built, the lives that are changed, the cash that's put into an economy, all starts from that underlying sort of space. And I think that's the part where coming in here and going, yeah, we've kind of been the dominant, but we need to rebuild who we are as a company. And that's the journey I've watched and been a participant in over the last 5 years. MYOB is not the company now that it was 5 years ago when I joined. And it's a very, very different place now.
No, I'd say it's definitely changed a lot in the last, I mean, it's very visible to us growing alongside me in that journey, what's changed. But I guess what's interesting to me is where that sort of takes you. So what does MYOB look like in 10 years' time?
What does MYOB look like?
Pretend you're Tim Reed and you can just do whatever you want. Or pretend you're Kieran and you can do whatever you want.
Well, I can do whatever I want anyway. I'm really glad that I don't have the same credit card limits that Gary was talking about. The emails going to my boss would include alcohol, as you only know too well. Yeah, I've got some good stories about him with alcohol after one of our events and T-shirts. But anyway.
What?
Oh, come on.
Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on from that one because it involved you in a bar and stripping. Anyway, moving on.
So we have beers after this. So
we should have had beer here now.
This wraps up.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Yeah, I'm just waiting for them to start sitting up out there. So it might be in 10 years' time. Look, I think the reality is that one of the things I love about when we changed our brand and changed our vision, we got rid of the title of Love Your Work. I mean, love your work, yeah, it's nice, and we should love our work and enjoy it, but we went to this idea of simplify success. And success is personal. And the thing I love about that statement is that I can meet with business owners, and you'll meet some who they want the next franchise, or they want the $1 million project, or they want the next Ferrari. Or you meet with others who go, you know what, I just want more time with my family. I want to step back a little bit. I want this. You know, so success can be personal. And for us, it's all about how do we, for me, I delight in technology being invisible, getting rid of it, right? So get it out of the way. And I think that's where I would love to see MYOB going further and more. And we're seeing that through the introduction of artificial intelligence. We're seeing that through new dashboards. We're seeing that through the ability for us to augment and support your content just as much as we are supporting our own content sort of things. And so going to that place where, you know, automated processes, manual things are replaced by automated systems, data is shared, data is used. A big thing about the data, of course, is the context of the data and understanding what it's actually telling you. But getting rid of interfaces, making it voice systems, making it easier to put in, and that sort of. So I think MYOB getting to the point where technology is becoming more invisible, but the business is being more empowered.
So no user interface on a computer in 10 years' time?
Oh, you're talking 10 years' time? Yeah, highly likely.
Well, it's good news for you guys.
Yeah, maybe.
Just in case you guys are sick of my questions, we will be taking questions through the Hoove app as well. So if you've got a burning desire to ask Keran something embarrassing.
And nothing's off topic.
He's told me nothing is off topic, explicitly, unless it's a New Zealand accounting software company. Feel free to feel free to put them into the app or just shout them out at any time. Nothing's off topic. Good to hear.
Let's go with that.
Keran, your job title is futurist. The fuck is that?
You're at a Tanda event when you ask that question. What is a futurist? Look, I think it's traditionally an external futurist is someone who is constantly looking at what is coming 10, 15 years down the track. For me, I don't think that far ahead. I don't want to think that far ahead because, hell, I don't even know what I'm having for dinner, let alone what we're having 10 years from now, right? Hopefully there's street food outside or something or other.
Does that totally qualify you for the role then?
Well, yes and no, because there's that insatiable appetite or desire to delight the customer, right? What is the problem? Like I talk to students all the time, and they ask, how do I set myself up for success? Should I be studying accounting? Maybe not. Or should kids be learning to code? Or some of these fundamental questions. And I go, you know what? It's not about the technology. It should not be about the technology. It's about the passion of the individual for the problem they're trying to solve. And an example is, I went down the other day, I had a really crap day at work, and I went downstairs to Soul Origin to go and get a cup of coffee. We got a lovely barista behind the bar, and I had a little bit of a joke, and she shared a bit of a story. But when she handed the coffee to me, and coffee's that thing you go down to have a bit of a pick you up, to get that little moment. She'd just written, have a great day, and a smiley face on top of it. I was having such a crap day, that brought a tear to my eye. There's a person who is so in love with the problem, and the problem is her customers need a pickup, right? And her way of delighting me was to put a smiley face on top of a cup of coffee and to share a joke with me. And I go, it wasn't...
That is workforce success, isn't it?
It absolutely is, because it's not about the coffee, and it wasn't about the amazing machine she's got, or the point of sale system she used, or the time and attendance tool.
It is ours, yeah.
Sure. It was about the smile.
I wasn't sure if you knew.
Of course I know, because it's all of our stuff too.
There you go.
Exactly. It's sort of connected world. But that was and I say that to kids when they're looking at what are they learning. Yes, learn something for sure, but be passionate about what you want to do, right? What is it you want to explore? And I think that's where I think about the future and what we're doing tomorrow. It's actually about just how do we solve the problems faster, better, and easier.
I might touch on the teaching everyone to code topic, because I think it's something I've seen you talk about on LinkedIn, and I know that we disagree a lot on this, so I'm keen to really disagree in public.
The last time I talked on this, people got up and walked out.
Oh, really? Well, the door's that way if anyone's interested.
Yeah, thanks.
So you do or do not think that the next generation should all learn how to code? No one's going to walk out.
No, I know that.
The beer hasn't started yet.
No, it hasn't, exactly. Now caveat. When I answer this question, I think about my kids, and my kids are 10 and 5. So I'm talking primary school kids. And I think carte blanche, absolutely not. Kids should not be learning to learn a language. So when we say code, there's nuances in that. And me, traditionalist, goes, they're going to be learning Node or Python or PHP or something like that. And my thing is absolutely no. The languages.
Yeah, those are crap languages.
They're all crap languages, exactly. And they'll be obsolete. Hell, someone today was telling me Microsoft have just rewritten Office 365 in JavaScript from the ground up. You'd never have done that 3 years ago. So should kids learn to code? No. Talking high school kids, I wrestle with that. I still tend to lean on no. And the reason I say that is I think the art of software development is going away. It is a dying art, and it won't be around much longer. We're already seeing Google and others having AI writing the next generation of code. Now, that's not to say they won't always be engineers. So for the engineers in the room who are freaking out right now, like you, there will always be engineers, there will always be doctors, there will always be builders. You think about a builder today, they still need to learn how to order dwangers and all these sort of bits and pieces. But tomorrow we're printing
one building term you still remember?
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking, where's the rest of them? I was going to go 6-inch nails and whatever else. But the builders tomorrow are using 3D printers to print homes. You know, we are using modern technology, so we're still having builders. For me, school time is precious. And there's so many other things kids could or should be learning. I adore the fact that kids are taught logic, right, and causation. So teach them, if this happens, then do something else. It's the basics of programming. It's the basics of what we learn for solving problems, but I wrestle with the semantics of code equals language. I love the idea of kids learning and experiment, and my kids do anyway. They experiment with Dash and Dot and Sphero and all these cool robots that can roll around, they can do things, they can trigger other activities and events. So they're still fascinated by that. And yeah, my 10-year-old came to me the other day and said, "Hey, Dad, look at this chatbot I built in Scratch." And I was like, I didn't even know Scratch could do chatbots, but okay.
Cool.
It was kind of cool. But again, it's just
internship.
dragging and dropping blocks around. She's not learning, semicolon goes here and missing this. No, it's just a block of this and a block of that and a block of the next thing, so that kids can have that fascination with solving problems, but not necessarily learning to code.
So risk of putting words in your mouth, it sounds like it's not so much that you don't want kids to learn how to think in a logical fashion, but you're kind of worried about the semantics of conflating this is programming with this is the logical way of thinking.
Oh, absolutely. No, I definitely that. Yeah, I definitely think kids need to learn
Sounds like
how to challenge.
It
probably do. Yeah, and for me, it very much is the semantics of when, and it used to be so much more so, when code was leveraged, it was tied to specific languages, which the original curriculums actually had. And I think some of the curriculums are now changing, but from a curriculum point of view, it was very much code equals language.
I think we've been very outspoken at Tanda about having a lot of issue with the university system because of exactly that viewpoint.
Well, yeah, and an example of that was, there was a blockchain event in Melbourne at the start of the year, and they had 3 young women from Melbourne's Girl Grammar get up and open it, which, by the way, is a phenomenal way to open a tech conference. 3 young women on stage, the next generation of technologists, just brilliant. But these girls were so articulate, and they talked about the blockchain and the Neo and whatever else they'd done, but the way they talked about challenging the why, what's going on in the school place, how are we learning, and having permission to ask their teachers, why am I learning it this way? Why does it have to be this way? Can I not explore another opportunity? And you look at that and go, yeah, there's young people empowered to learn the way they need to learn for a world that's coming tomorrow that we don't know about.
I'm going to jump to some app questions now. Some of these are more sensible than others. So, do you want a sensible one or a crazy one first?
You pick.
No, you pick.
It's Friday afternoon. Oh, no, it's not. It's Thursday afternoon.
Mate.
It's nearly bedtime.
All right, let's start with a suitably not knowing the day of the week one. What industry do you feel will be most impacted by AI?
What industry will be most impacted by AI? I'm actually constantly surprised by the industry applications of AI. I mean, the natural assumption is any data-rich industry should and will be impacted. But I was talking to some guys in New Zealand the other day who are in metal, they make metal framing and bits and pieces.
That is metal.
Yeah, that is metal, yes. Structural steel. They're using AI and computer vision to keep their workers safe. So they've got the guys they drive the truck in and they get up on the back. They have a camera now that sits just above the cab and looks over the back and is analysing the load, where the people are, is the person standing in the right place, are there any occupational health and safety issues going on, has he rigged it correctly, has he tied it down correctly, all of this sort of stuff. And I'm going, I don't even think AI would be used in that place, and yet here they are winning awards for keeping their staff safe. So I'm really struggling now to say, is there any industry where AI and that sort of application of AI won't make an impact? The natural one, though, right now is anyone who's got massive amounts of data.
I love that answer because I think when I hear that question, I'm not sure if that's what Deanna had in mind, but certainly I hear who's going to be like a loser from AI. And in your answer is very much, man, these guys are really doing very well because of it, as opposed to the inverse.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Everyone goes to is AI and robotics going to replace our jobs? Maybe not. If you're an accountant, probably. Sorry. Just because I'm in accounting. But the reality is, when we look at any time through history, if you go back to the Industrial Revolution, if you go to any of these sort of times, there were mass scare and job loss in certain areas. But most of those things have actually created more jobs than they've lost. There's Deloitte did a research recently that AI right now has actually generated far more jobs than it's impacted or lost. The trick, though, is the retraining of people. And that's where trying to teach the next generation, do they need to learn to code, do they need to learn something? They need to learn to be malleable, and they need to learn to adapt. our generation, your generation, younger than me, are having more
Our
jobs.
generation is a bit of a broad term.
Yeah, I was going to say, my generation, we change jobs more than our parents, but I think the current one is that millennials, they have something like 75 jobs in their career space. 75 jobs.
Like I have that most of the time on the one job, but I wouldn't say it's with 25 jobs.
You're a founder, so you're going to have multiple jobs anyway. But you taking skills and applying it to different areas and putting it into spaces, that's what the future's going to be, and that's what AI is going to enable you to do.
Bit of a different tack. So we've talked a lot about workforce success at this conference today, and I mean, obviously you weren't here this morning, so you probably missed the whole definition. So I'm just going to throw you on the spot anyway. What does workforce success mean for MYOB?
So it depends. Are we talking about in the business or are we talking outside the business?
I'm going to go with in.
In the business, I actually liked what Gary said. It's about having hope and pathways. So success is allowing bureaucracy to get out of the way and us to build tools that delight our customers and solve problems. Now that means that staff are empowered, that means staff are able to make decisions. We do from time to time still have rules that come down and say, we're on a travel ban, you can't travel here, but you still have the going, you know what, I need to go and do something, so I'm going to do it. MYOB lives by the ask forgiveness, not permission mindset. And that's empowering for staff, right? That's like Gary's example of giving pathways to people to say, which way do you want to go? What are your options? How do you do it? And so for us, success in the business is about culture, diversity, inclusion, all those great words, living, breathing, where people are happy to be there, because happy employees are going to make great software for our customers.
I'm going to jump to one more app question. I love this question because I really don't understand where it's going at all. But the question is, it's been written. Sorry, I'm really thrown under the bus here. What's the best thing you've ever predicted? And Katrina, if you're in the room, that is a damn good question.
What's the best thing I've ever predicted?
Ever. Best. Ever.
I'd love to say the price of Bitcoin, but that's not at all.
That would have been quite a good prediction.
It would have been a really good prediction 4 years ago.
An embarrassing Bitcoin story?
No. Well, no.
Is it a problem that you don't have a Bitcoin story?
Yeah, well, no, I've got Bitcoin stories. They're embarrassing and bad, but no. Nobody wants to talk about Bitcoin.
Actually, Keran said there was two things we can't talk about, and one of them was Bitcoin.
The price of Bitcoin.
Let's go back to the best thing you ever predicted.
So the best thing I've predicted, that's a really hard one. To be serious, it's really hard. I mean, it's easy to say like the right pizza topping or something or other. But I think the one for me was, so I saw the onslaught of AI coming into the accounting space. So I have the claim for building the first natural language AI engine on an accounting platform. So we built a system that would look into your accounting platform, suck out the data, and instead of building graphs and charts and whatever else, it would actually give you sentences and would tell you what to do with your business. Like tangible daily things, and we would deliver it to the customer. We were 3 years too early for the market to actually understand and wrestle with. So we put it in front of accountants and said, hey, what's this cool thing? And they went, why would I ever use that? That's what I do. And I just want a dashboard. Now, the smart accountants actually used it as a tool set in their arsenal. But anyway, so we predicted that, built that out, got it working, and now, of course, MYOB, Xero, everyone else now has this sort of system built into their core platforms. It's fundamental to the way that humans are going to translate and understand accounting information. So that's probably the best one that I've actually got from the point that, one, I predicted it, and two, I built it.
And three, it almost worked out.
This close.
No, I think it was actually really good. I remember trying it out and being like, man, this is very cool, and then just didn't really, I mean, it was on the right track. I think it was a good prediction. Yeah. So I think one of the things that a lot of people at this conference, I think, have sort of wanted to figure out, I guess, is, like, so we keep talking about how we can, I mean, if you have a successful workforce, you're going to engage your employees more, you're going to have more profitable businesses, and you're going to get everyone really working towards a similar sort of goal. What sort of specific things do you think that you've been doing within your team, within your area, MYOB, to really to make it so successful? Because I think certainly when I first worked with you 4 or 5 years ago, it was really just one dude in a room making a website and listing all these apps. And now it's obviously quite a booming ecosystem. Is that all you're doing? Is that the doing of your team? How have you made that work so well?
Well, as of yesterday, I spoke to one person, which I'll talk about later.
What great time.
Which is really hard, actually, when our dearest competitor have quite a lot more people in that space. think, what have I done with the team? I think what I've done is hired people better than me. First and foremost, and we always should, right? I mean, there's that classic saying, and I forget who it's by, is if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. I love to surround myself with people who are better than me, younger than me, different than me, look different, smell different, whatever. Because when I go in and say, I've got this problem, here's how I would fix it, and they say, no, but if you do this, this, and this, you'll reach this over here. You go, oh, okay, I didn't realize we could do that. And I think that's the reason why we've got success to where we are now, with a very small but very dynamic team, is drawing on other people's strengths. You'll only ever go so far by yourself. You know, when you plug in and support with a team, you can accelerate and go so much faster. So for me, it's about bringing different people in. It's about giving them enough rope. I mean, that old saying of, give someone enough rope and they'll hang themselves. But with a team at different times, depending on their age as well, giving them enough rope to actually go and run with things and do stuff. But like Gary said before, they still need to know that there's a rule or a boundary or something there to run within. So running within your lanes, swimming within your lanes. And I think that's something I didn't learn early on, was I just say to my teams, go off and do it, that's fine. And they'd sort of flounder around and not do things because they're looking for the wall to bounce off almost. And so, bringing in those people, but also then going, you know what, I've kind of been there before, so why don't you try within this space and then go and do that sort of thing.
I like that. It's been a good interview, I think. One of my favorite interview questions. Do you have any questions for me?
So I do have a question for you. I remember getting a semi-distressed phone call from you one day saying, hey, Keran, I'm about to hire my first employee. I don't know what the fuck to do, and how do I employ them and hire them and whatever else.
You can't swear on stage, mate.
Hey? No, of course I can't. Never can do that.
Well, I'm here.
That's why you're here. But you recently just hired your 100th employee. So what are the top 3 things that you have learned on that employee process from the first employee to your 100th employee?
Oh, man, I shouldn't have asked you that. I'm not going to be able to think of 3. The first employee who I was calling you about is still here somewhere. I don't know if he's in the room right now. You in the room, Adam? Fuck him. I think one of the things, so we had a lot of false starts. We hired a lot of people who didn't really work out, and we sort of have gotten better at that over time. I think one of the things we learned there is that you're not going to get it right the first go. And I think it was very easy. I was calling you, expecting you to be like, here's a silver bullet answer. And I think I've done that many times very recently, like when I was like, Kieran, how do we do a conference? You're like, it's easy. But
you have a team that does it for you.
So, yes. Thank you, team. But I think one of the things I definitely learned was that it's always something that you get better at. I don't think you're ever going to have a perfect way of growing a team or whatever. But if you've got a set of values and a framework, which is kind of what we've been talking about and what we sort of are working towards, then it all gets a little bit easier. And I think ideally everyone within the team feels some ownership towards that, and they try to make the team theirs as well. So I don't really like the whole you've hired your 100th person, because A, I didn't do it personally, but B, it wasn't even, I didn't, not one of the 4 of us was the person who made that hire. It was someone else in the team who hired someone else inside of their teams. And I think that as long as every team feels like it can do its own hiring and feels like it's got its own control over its destiny a bit more, that's always going to work better than me, who's a very bad person to make any decision, trying to do this sort of stuff. So that's my one thing. I don't really have 2 more. I don't really have 2 more.
So then, in light of that then, in hiring and that sort of process, and I'll just make it one thing this time, what is the one thing you'd go back to yourself when there's just the 4 of you in that boxy little shed, wherever it was, out in the middle of nowhere?
It was in Hendra, which is a lovely suburb.
Oh, right, okay. So anyone from Hendra?
Anyone here from Hendra?
What would you go back and tell yourselves? One thing to do, one thing not to do.
That's 2 things.
One of each.
I think I think there's just so many not to do's that it's kind of hard to pick one. I think the biggest not to do is what we basically just had so much of a, when you have fireworks and you just fire them and they all go in different directions. I assume you do all the time. And what we really, really needed to do, and what we've learned recently, is to really just try to do a small number of things and really focus on them. And that sounds super easy in theory. Cool, you just focus on stuff. But the hard bit is all the things you don't do that are actually still legitimately good ideas. And I think we spent so much time trying to do 10 projects at once when we literally had less than 10 people and wondering why none of them are going that well. I think anyone who works at Tandem now would say that we're guilty of that now. So just imagine how bad it used to be. But I think we've certainly got a lot better at trying to stick to a few key areas and trying to get really good at that. So I'd say the not to do would be to not take on so many projects. But conversely, I'd say the thing to do is take on lots of projects, because we had no idea what was going to work. I think we threw so much shit at the wall, and we were like, oh, let's just try plugging into accounting software. That might work out well. I mean, it's worked out okay for you.
Fantastic.
So it's both. It's very easy to be like, we'll try and be really focused, but we've also found it like if we didn't have this brilliant idea of what was going to be the best strategy for anything, we just kind of tried stuff out. So it's kind of a mixed bag there. So my answer is contradictory.
Welcome to business, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Everything's contradictory.
We've exceeded the time limit. Does anyone from the audience have any questions? I'm going to check the app one more time as well.
Yeah, do that.
Keran, do you have any last words? Famous or otherwise?
Bear?
Oh, yeah. Sounds good. I think we'll leave it at that then. Look, thanks everyone for coming along today. It's been hopefully a really good day. I've had a really good time. Have you had a good time?
I've had a really good time. In fact, it's been fantastic, and it's really exciting actually to come along and be participant on your first one of these, like the hackathon and others. But the quality of the speakers, I loved listening to Domino's and Sidekicker talking about the depth of data, and then Gary just now. I mean, it's easy in this afternoon's one. But I also hear a rumor that there's someone in the room that's got a bit of a alcohol-related world record. Someone on your team.
In terms of a toga-related party?
Yeah, something like this.
It is true that there is someone on the team who holds the world record for the world's largest toga party. That is an accurate statement.
And apparently there's something happening tonight?
I mean, did you bring a toga? I don't think anyone wants to see that.
No, they don't want to see me in a toga, that's for sure.
That is what I was saying, yeah. So with that in mind, I think we'll definitely have to wrap it up there now before you tell any more bad stories. Yeah, look, again, thanks everyone for coming along. I think this was obviously, for us, we didn't really know how this was going to go. We thought it was hoping it was going to go really well, but it really is because of all of you guys taking the punt and turning up that this has actually been at all a good event. And we're hoping that, obviously, tonight's going to be fantastic, guaranteed. Keran will make sure of it. And then tomorrow's going to be really good as well. So we've got, again, a full day of schedule, a full day of talks, starting at 9 a.m. So do try to wake up before then. More note to self than anything else.
yeah, note to you.
But yeah, we'll leave it at that. The bar tab will be starting now? Correct. Well, that's good news for everyone. And it's Tasman Toga Party Tradice's credit card is on the bar, so everyone go get amongst it. We'll see you out there.